Widow inherited only a house 25 meters high, but what she found inside. Sarah Bennett never imagined that at 42 she would be a widow, raising her 8-year-old son Ethan and 6-year-old daughter Lily alone, trying to rebuild a life that seemed to have collapsed along with the premature departure of her husband James. It was during the reading of her father-in-law Arthur's will that her life took a completely unexpected turn. While all the other heirs received valuable land, houses in town and investments, she was left with only a strange construction, a wooden house built 25 meters high at the top of a centuries-old tree, located in the center of the country estate that had belonged to the Bennett family for 3 generations. The lawyer adjusted her glasses and repeated the words that left the whole family in silence. To my daughter-in-law, Sarah Bennett, I leave the house built in the canopy of the Golden Oak, located at the coordinates listed in this document, along with a radius of 50 meters around the tree. Thomas, Sarah's brother-in-law and Arthur's eldest son, was the first to break the awkward silence. This is a joke in poor taste. Dad left her only that crazy construction he kept hammering away at day and night. Thomas, please. Mrs. Martha, Sarah's mother-in-law, tried to maintain her composure, but her shame over the inheritance her daughter-in-law received was visible. Sarah felt her face burn with humiliation. Ethan and Lily, who were playing in the corner of the room, sensed the tension and instinctively moved closer to her. "Mommy, what's happening?" whispered Lily, tugging on the hem of Sarah's skirt. "Nothing, sweetie. Let's go home." But Thomas wasn't finished. "Look, Sarah, everyone knows you never got along with the old man. Never visited, never called, not even in the last few months when he was delicate. Now you want to complain about the inheritance." The words cut deep. Sarah knew Thomas was right about one thing. She really had distanced herself from Arthur after the marriage. The man always seemed cold and reserved, especially with her. James tried to mediate, but eventually gave up when he realized both his father and his wife were equally proud. "I'm not complaining about anything." Sarah stood up, holding her children's hands. "If that's what he wanted to leave me, I'll accept it." "Great." Cynthia, the sister-in-law married to Thomas, couldn't hide her relief. "So you can arrange for the removal of the construction. We want to sell the land and that thing is getting in the way of buyers." "What do you mean, removal?" The lawyer consulted the documents. "According to the will, you are entitled to the construction and the surrounding land. The rest of the property was divided among the other heirs, but they cannot do anything while the structure is there, as it is registered as an inalienable homestead." Sarah felt a mix of confusion and curiosity growing in her chest. Inalienable. It means it cannot be sold or removed without the express authorization of the heir. In this case, you. The silence that followed was broken by Mrs. Martha's soft voice. "Sarah, dear, why don't we talk in private? Perhaps we can reach an agreement. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing." 3 days later, Sarah was driving down the dirt road that led to the Bennett country estate. She hadn't set foot on those lands that once belonged to her father-in-law for years. Ethan and Lily were in the back seat, excited about the adventure of seeing the mysterious treehouse they had heard so much about in recent days. "Mom, do you think we can get up there?" asked Ethan, his face pressed against the window. "I don't know, son. First we need to see what the situation is." The country estate stretched across hectares of fertile land. Arthur had always been a hard-working man, transforming that piece of the countryside into a prosperous farm. But now, with the main house closed for almost a year, everything seemed abandoned and melancholy. Sarah parked the car near the main gate and walked with her children until they spotted the famous tree. The golden oak was truly majestic, with a thick trunk and a lush canopy that spread out like a natural umbrella. And up high, indeed, there was a wooden structure that looked more like a giant dollhouse. "Wow, Mom! It's just like the drawings Daddy used to make for us." Lily clapped, delighted. Sarah felt a tightness in her chest. James really did draw tree houses for the children, always talking about how fun it would be to have a real one. Could he have mentioned this to his father? "How are we going to get up there, Mom?" Ethan pointed to the smooth trunk, with no low branches that could serve as support. Sarah looked around and noticed there was a wooden ladder leaning against the tree, but several boards were broken or missing. "It looks like the ladder is damaged. We'll have to get someone to fix it." "I can help with that." Sarah turned, startled. A man of about 50 was approaching, wearing work clothes and a straw hat. "Sorry if I frightened you, ma'am. I'm Frank. I used to take care of the property for Mr. Arthur. I still come by from time to check that everything's all right." "Ah, yes. Sarah Bennett, Mr. Arthur's daughter-in-law. These are my children, Ethan and Lily." Frank tipped his hat in a courteous gesture. "I'm sorry for the loss of your husband, Mrs. Bennett. James was a good man." "Thank you." Sarah felt the familiar lump in her throat whenever someone mentioned James. "I'm here to see the house I inherited. Can you tell me how long that ladder has been broken?" Frank scratched his beard, seeming uncomfortable. "Well, Mrs. Bennett, that ladder was damaged in the last big storm, must be about 3 months ago. Mr. Arthur was very upset, said it needed fixing right away, but..." "But what?" "Well, then he got sick and couldn't go up anymore. In his last days, he would spend hours down here just looking up as if he wanted to fly." Lily tugged on her mother's skirt. "Mom, can I go play near the tree?" "You may, but don't go far." The children ran toward the golden oak, and Sarah took the opportunity to talk more privately with Frank. "Tell me something, Frank. Do you know what's up there?" The man hesitated, fidgeting with the hat in his hands. "Well, Mrs. Bennett, I never went up there. Mr. Arthur was very private about that. When he was building it, he wouldn't let anyone get close. He said it was a personal project, very important to him." "How long has that house been there?" "Must be about 5 years since he started. He worked day and night when he could. He always said it had to be finished before it was too late, but he never explained what that meant." Sarah felt a growing curiosity mixed with guilt. 5 years ago, James was still alive. Why did his father build that and never say anything? "Frank, do you know any carpenters here in the region who can fix the ladder?" "Yes, I do, Mrs. Bennett. My friend George is the best carpenter in town. I can talk to him if you like. Please, ask him to come tomorrow. I need to go up there and see what's there." Frank nodded, but Sarah noticed a worried expression on his face. "Is something wrong, Frank?" No, it's just that, well, the neighbors have some strange stories about that house." "What kind of stories?" "They say that sometimes, especially in the late afternoon, you could hear voices coming from up there. Children's voices, as if someone was playing." Sarah felt a shiver but tried to stay rational. "Must be birds or the wind in the leaves." "Yeah, must be that." Frank didn't seem very convinced. "Mommy! Mommy!" Lily came running, breathless with excitement. "I found something." "What is it, sweetie?" Lily opened her little hand and showed a small cloth doll, faded with time. "It was right here near the tree. Can I keep it?" Sarah examined the doll. It was clearly handmade, with care and affection, but it was dirty and damp from the recent rain. "Where exactly did you find this?" "Right here, Mommy." Lily pointed to a small hole in the ground, between the tree roots. Frank came closer to see. "How strange. That looks like it was buried on purpose." Sarah felt her heart race. Why would anyone bury a doll there? "Ethan, come here." The boy came running over. "Son, you've never been here before, right?" "No, Mommy. You always said Grandpa Arthur didn't like visitors." "That's true." Sarah remembered the few times James suggested taking the kids to meet their grandfather, and how she always made excuses not to go. But there was something strange about Ethan's expression. He was looking at the treehouse with a familiarity that didn't make sense. "Ethan, are you sure you've never come here?" The boy hesitated, kicking the dirt with the tip of his shoe. "Well, once Dad brought us, but it was in secret. You had gone to work on Saturday." Sarah felt a mix of surprise and irritation. "When was that?" "A few months before Dad left. He told us not to tell you because he wanted it to be a surprise." "A surprise? What kind of surprise?" "Dad said Grandpa Arthur was preparing something special for us, but it wasn't ready yet." Frank and Sarah exchanged intrigued looks. "And did you go up in the house?" "No." Lily shook her head. "Grandpa said it was still dangerous, but he showed us some really pretty drawings of how it would look when it was finished. Drawings? Yeah. Ethan perked up. He said it was going to be the coolest house in the world for kids to play in. It even had a slide that went right down into the river. Sarah looked around. There was no river nearby. What river, son? The river Grandpa was going to make. He explained everything but said it was a secret until it was ready. The situation was getting stranger and stranger. Sarah turned to Frank. Do you know about any river project or something like that? Frank scratched his head. Well, Mrs. Sarah, your Arthur talked about a lot of things lately. Sometimes it seemed like he was planning to build a whole city here. But I thought it was just his age, you know. Mommy, can I go up to see Grandpa's house? Lily asked, still hugging the dirty doll. No, sweetie, the ladder is broken. We'll fix it tomorrow. But Grandpa said there was a secret ladder. Sarah stopped mid-sentence. What do you mean, secret ladder? Grandpa showed Dad a way to get up without using the regular ladder. It was on the other side of the tree. Sarah, Frank, and the children walked around the giant trunk. On the opposite side, there was a series of planks nailed directly into the trunk, forming a kind of primitive ladder. My goodness. Frank shook his head. I never noticed this here. Sarah tested the first plank with her foot. It seemed solid. I think I can try to climb up here. Mrs. Sarah, with all due respect, I think it's dangerous. These planks might not hold an adult's weight. I need to see what's up there, Frank. This whole story is making me very curious. Mommy, let us go with you, Ethan pleaded. Absolutely not. You two stay down here with Mr. Frank. Sarah began to climb slowly, testing each plank before putting her full weight on it. Her heart was beating fast, but not just from the physical effort. It was as if she was about to discover a family secret that would change everything. When she reached the level of the structure, she could see there was a small side window. She peeked inside and was left speechless by what she saw. The house was much larger on the inside than it appeared from the outside. There were 2 small beds, a low table, shelves full of children's books, toys organized in specific corners, and on the wall, dozens of pinned-up drawings. But what caught her attention the most were the drawings. They were portraits of Ethan and Lily at different ages, some clearly based on photos, others seeming to have been done from memory or imagination. My goodness, Sarah whispered, feeling tears well up in her eyes. Mrs. Sarah, is everything all right up there? Shouted Frank from below. I'm fine. Just one more minute. Sarah managed to open the window and entered the house. The smell was of new wood mixed with something sweet, perhaps honey or sugar. Every detail had been thought of for children. Little hooks at just the right height for hanging small coats, a stool to reach the window, colourful cushions scattered on the floor. But it was when she saw the table that her heart nearly stopped. There was a stack of letters tied with a red string, and on the first letter, in Arthur's shaky handwriting, was written, For James, my dear son, if you are reading this, it is because I am no longer here to ask for your forgiveness in person. With trembling hands, Sarah untied the string and opened the first letter. James, my son, I don't know where to begin to apologize for all these years of silence and foolish pride. When you married Sarah, I should have opened my heart and welcomed you both with the joy you deserve. Instead, I let my closed-off nature create a barrier between us. The truth is, I've always had difficulty showing affection. My father was like that with me, and I ended up repeating the same mistake with you. But when I found out I was going to be a grandfather, something changed in me. I wanted to do things differently. This house is my way of asking for forgiveness and showing the love I never knew how to express in words. Every board nailed here was nailed thinking of my grandchildren, Ethan and Lily. I love them more than I could ever say, even knowing they barely know me. Please forgive this stubborn old man. And if Sarah is reading this too, I ask for her forgiveness especially. I know I was always cold and distant, but I want her to know that I greatly admire the strong, hard-working woman you chose as your wife, a father who loves you, Arthur Bennett. Sarah cried as she hadn't cried since her husband's funeral. The tears fell on the yellowed paper as she held the letter to her chest. All this time, all this distance, based on misunderstandings and pride on both sides. But there were more letters. The second was even more touching. James, today I finished the main structure of the house. I know you already know about this project. Frank told me you passed by here with the children last week. I'm glad you approved of the idea. I very much want to be part of my grandchildren's lives. I know Sarah has her reservations about me, and I don't blame her for that. But do you think you could try to talk to her? I would so love to be able to tell stories to Ethan and Lily, teach Ethan to fish in the pond, braid Lily's hair like I did for your sister when we were younger. I'm planning to make a slide that goes from the house to a natural pool I intend to build there near the creek. It will be the children's delight. I'm also thinking of a bridge that connects this house to a second, smaller house, just so the grandchildren can have a secret little spot. The doctor said my heart isn't doing too well. That's why I'm in a hurry to finish all this. I want to have it ready before it's too late. This house is my way of telling Ethan and Lily that their grandpa loves them very much, even if I was too slow to show it before. With love and longing, Dad. Sarah had to stop reading for a few minutes. The pain in her chest was almost unbearable. James had never told her about the conversations with his father, probably wanting to protect her from yet another family conflict, and now it was too late to fix everyone's mistakes. "Mom!" Lily's voice reached her. "Are you okay up there?" "Yes, dear. I'm coming down now." Sarah put the letters in her pocket and took one last look around. There was so much love invested in that place, so many dreams and hope. How could she have been so blind and stubborn? The descent was harder than the climb, mainly because the tears blurred her vision. When she reached the ground, Ethan and Lily ran to hug her. "So, Mrs. Bennet," asked Frank, "what did you think up there?" Sarah looked at her children, then at the man who lovingly cared for her father-in-law's country estate, and made a decision. "Frank, you can cancel the carpenter. I'm going to fix the main staircase myself." "Are you sure it's dangerous work?" "I'm certain, and I want you to help me finish what Mr. Arthur started." "Finish it?" "He had bigger plans for this place. I want to honor his memory by completing the project." Ethan and Lily exchanged excited glances. "You mean we can play in the treehouse?" asked Lily. "Not just play, sweetie. We're going to turn this place into the dream park your grandfather always wanted to build for you." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. In the following days, Sarah threw herself headfirst into the project. She hired a carpenter from the neighboring town, since George, Frank's buddy, had refused to work after a strange conversation with his wife. "I don't understand," Sarah was talking to Frank while they organized the materials under the tree. "Why didn't he want to do the job?" "Well, Mrs. Bennet, George is a bit superstitious. His wife, Mrs. Gladys, keeps making up stories about this tree. Says Mr. Arthur used to talk to someone up here, but no one ever saw who it was." "Frank, do you believe those stories?" I don't know, Mrs. Bennet. What I know is that Mr. Arthur was a good man, and if he built this here, it was for a good reason." "Mom, look what I found." Ethan came running with an old notebook in his hands. Sarah took the notebook and opened it. It was like a construction log, but it also contained detailed blueprints and drawings of the entire structure. On the first page, a dedication that made her heart ache once more. "For my beloved grandchildren Ethan and Lily, may this house be the place where your dreams grow as tall as this ancient tree. Grandpa Arthur." "Wow, Mom, Grandpa drew all this?" Lily hung on her arm to get a better look. "Yes, he did, honey, and he drew it very well." The blueprints showed not only the main house, but a series of other connected structures: a suspension bridge, a giant slide, a second smaller house, an observation deck, and even a pulley system to hoist materials. "Frank, come look at this." Sarah showed him the drawings. "Did you know he planned all this?" Frank adjusted his glasses to see better. "Good heavens, he never showed me all these plans. He just said he wanted to make a little house for the grandkids." "Look here, there are even measurements and material specifications." Sarah flipped through the pages. "He really thought of every detail." "Mom, can we really make all of this?" Ethan asked, his eyes shining with excitement. "I don't know, son. It's a very large and complex project. It would need a lot of money and—" Sarah stopped talking when she saw a note in the margin of one of the pages. "Special account at Heartland Harvest Bank, Downtown Branch, for the completion of the children's project." "Frank, Do you know of any account that your Arthur had set aside for this construction? No, Mrs. Sarah, but he was always very private about money matters. I'll have to go to the bank tomorrow and check. That afternoon, while the children explored the area around the tree under Frank's supervision, Sarah went back up into the house to read the rest of the letters. The third letter revealed details that moved her even more. James. Today I caught Ethan and Lily playing in the backyard and watched from a distance. They are such spirited children, so full of life, full of... Ethan has your eyes and your way of questioning everything, just like you did when you were little. Lily has that sweet smile of Sarah's, which can light up any room. I know Sarah thinks I'm a grumpy old man who doesn't like children. How wrong she is. I've always loved children, but I never knew how to get close. It was the same with you, and I regret every day not having been a more affectionate father. But with my grandchildren, I want to be different. I want to be the grandfather who tells stories, teaches tricks, and joins in their games. This house is my way of telling them, your grandpa loves you infinitely and wants to be part of your lives. I hope that when everything is ready, you'll help me invite Sarah to see the project. I know she has a good heart, and perhaps when she sees all the love I've put into this construction, she'll be able to forgive me for having been so closed off all these years. Your father who loves you, Arthur P.S. I've left a special surprise hidden for each of the children. When the house is ready, they'll love the treasure hunt I've prepared. Sarah smiled through her tears. Arthur had thought of absolutely everything, but the mention of the hidden surprises piqued her curiosity. She began searching the house and soon found 2 small trapdoors in the floor, each engraved with a name, Ethan and Lily. She opened Ethan's first. Inside was a set of miniature tools perfectly functional with a letter. For my grandson Ethan, who always likes to understand how things work. With these tools, you can help me finish our dream house. I hope one day you build an even more beautiful house for your own children. With love, Grandpa Arthur. In Lily's trapdoor, there was a cloth doll identical to the one she had found buried, but this one was brand new, with a little hand-embroidered dress. For my granddaughter Lily, who lights up the world with her smile. This doll is named Faith, just as you are my faith that our family will be united again. Take good care of her, for she will keep all our secrets. With love, Grandpa Arthur. Sarah realized the buried doll had probably fallen from the house during some storm. Arthur must have made 2 identical dolls. "Mommy!" Lily's voice called from below. "There are people coming." Sarah quickly put the surprises away and went down to see. An elegant car was parked near the tree, and from it stepped Thomas, Cynthia, and a man in a suit whom Sarah did not know. "Sarah," Thomas waved, but his tone was not at all friendly. "We need to talk." Sarah approached carefully, sensing the situation would not be pleasant. "Good afternoon, Thomas. Cynthia." She greeted her sister-in-law coldly. "Who are you, sir?" The man in the suit stepped forward. "Michael Bradley, the family's lawyer. I'm here at the heir's request to resolve a delicate matter." "What matter?" Thomas crossed his arms. "Sarah, you're holding up our lives. We have a buyer interested in the entire country estate, but they demand this construction be removed before the sale. I've already explained the house is rightfully mine." "It is yours, yes." The lawyer pulled a folder from the car. "But there are some clauses in the will that perhaps you haven't noticed." Sarah felt a chill in her stomach. "What kind of clauses?" "Well, the structure is yours only while it's being used for family purposes. If it remains abandoned for more than 6 months, the property reverts to the other heirs." "Abandoned how?" Cynthia approached with a fake smile. "Sarah, dear, let's agree that you're never going to come live here in the middle of nowhere with 2 small children. Be realistic. And there's more," the lawyer continued. "The structure must be completed according to the original plans within a 2-year period. Otherwise, it also reverts to the other heirs." Sarah looked at the notebook she still held in her hands. "Completed how?" "According to the will, Mr. Arthur left specific blueprints that must be followed. The current structure is considered only the first stage of a larger project." Thomas smiled with satisfaction. "In other words, Sarah, you'd have to invest a fortune to complete the old man's crazy fantasies. Let's face it, that's impossible for someone in your situation." Thomas's words stung, but Sarah didn't let herself be intimidated. And if I manage to complete the project? If you do, the property will be entirely yours. The lawyer seemed surprised by the question. But frankly, Mrs. Sarah, the costs would be... How much did the buyer offer for the entire property? Thomas and Cynthia exchanged uncomfortable glances. That's not the point, Cynthia replied quickly. Yes, it is, because if I finish the construction, you lose the sale, don't you? The silence revealed that Sarah had hit the nail on the head. Sarah, be sensible. Thomas tried to change his tone. Accept our compensation offer. We'll give you $50,000, you remove the house, and everyone is happy. 50,000? Sarah laughed humorlessly. You must be getting much more than that from the sale. Take it or leave it. Cynthia crossed her arms. Because I doubt you have the means to fund this crazy project. Sarah looked at Ethan and Lily, who were watching the discussion with curiosity, then at Frank, who seemed embarrassed by the situation, and finally at the majestic treehouse. You know what? I accept the challenge. What? Thomas's eyes widened. I will complete the project exactly as my father-in-law planned, and when it's finished I want you off my property. The lawyer tried to intervene. Mrs. Sarah, are you sure? It's a serious legal commitment. If you can't fulfill it, I will. Sarah raised her chin with determination. And to start, I want you all to leave now. After the unwanted visitors had left, Sarah sat on the grass with the children and Frank. Mom, did you mean it about finishing Grandpa's house? Asked Ethan. I did, son. Your grandfather dreamed of this, and we're going to make his dream come true. But Mom, Lily snuggled into her lap. How will we get the money for all this? Sarah opened the notebook to the final pages and showed a note she had found. Special account for the grandchildren, $180,000, deposited monthly since 2018. Password, Ethan 2015 Lily 2017. Frank whistled softly. Mrs. Sarah, it seems your Mr. Arthur really planned everything. We'll go to the bank first thing tomorrow to confirm it. Sarah hugged her children. And if it's true, we'll pay back the greed of those two. That night, Sarah could hardly sleep. She read and reread Arthur's letters, trying to fully understand the scope of the project she had taken on. In the last letter of the packet, she found detailed instructions on how to proceed. James, or whoever is reading this, if you've reached this letter, it's because you've decided to embrace my dream. I get emotional just imagining it. The complete project is divided into 5 phases. Phase 1, main house, already completed. Phase 2, suspension bridge and secondary house. Phase 3, water slide and aquatic play area. Phase 4, observation deck and pulley system. Phase 5, hanging garden and reading area. Each phase should take approximately 3 months to complete with professional help. I left enough money for everything, plus a reserve for maintenance. But pay attention. This project is not just about construction. It's about reconnecting our family. It's about giving my grandchildren a magical place where they can grow up surrounded by love and adventure. I hope that, when everything is ready, our family will be closer than it has ever been. With eternal love, Arthur P.S. In the box under the table, there is a special surprise for whoever decides to take this project forward. Sarah looked under the table and found a small wooden box. Inside, there was a golden locket with a picture of the children and an engraving on one side. For the daughter-in-law I learned to love as a daughter, Arthur Bennett. The tears came again, but this time they were tears of gratitude and determination. Arthur had prepared everything so that she could not only complete the project, but also feel truly part of the Bennett family. The next morning, Sarah dressed as carefully as she could and went to the bank with the documents and passwords she had found. The manager, Mr. Miller, received her kindly. Mrs. Sarah, I'm very sorry for the loss of Mr. James. He was an exemplary young man. Thank you, Mr. Miller. I'm here to check an account that my father-in-law mentioned in his notes. After checking all the documents and passwords, the manager confirmed, the account is active. Yes, Mr. Arthur made monthly deposits of $1,000 since January 2018. The current balance is $187,400. Sarah felt her legs go weak. And can this amount be used for the purposes specified by the depositor? Absolutely. According to the instructions he left, the money is to be used exclusively for completing the children's leisure project on the country estate, and can only be accessed by you, as the legal guardian of the beneficiary children. Leaving the bank, Sarah felt both relieved and frightened. The money was there, but the responsibility was immense. What if she couldn't complete everything on time? What if something went wrong? "Mom, did we get it?" Ethan asked anxiously when she returned to the car. "We did, son. We're going to make Grandpa Arthur's dream come true." The first weeks of work were intense. Sarah hired an experienced foreman, Henry, who was impressed with the quality and detail of Arthur's plans. "Mrs. Sarah, your father-in-law was no joke. These plans are more detailed than many projects by certified engineers. He was a very intelligent man. I just took a while to realize it. The construction of the suspension bridge was the most challenging part. It was necessary to connect the main house to a platform built in a neighboring tree, smaller but equally robust. "Uncle Frank, will the bridge hold our weight?" Lily asked, watching the men working up there. "It will, little one. Your grandpa calculated everything just right. This bridge will even hold an adult." The children participated in everything, always supervised, but Sarah made a point of involving them in the process. Ethan learned to use the miniature tools his grandfather had left, helping with simple but important tasks. Lily organized the plans and drawings, creating her own project archive. It was during the third week of construction that Sarah discovered something that would completely change her perception of Arthur. Mrs. Gladys, the carpenter George's wife, appeared at the estate one Saturday morning. She was a woman of about 60 with graying hair and a serious expression. "Mrs. Sarah, may I speak with you for a moment?" "Of course, Mrs. Gladys. How can I help you?" The woman looked around nervously. "It's about your father-in-law, Mrs. Sarah. I think you need to know a few things." Sarah felt her heart speed up. "What kind of things?" "Mr. Arthur, he didn't build this house alone." "What do you mean?" "In the last few months before he got sick, he had visitors. Small visits." Sarah frowned. "Small?" "The children, Mrs. Sarah. Your children came here in secret, almost every weekend." Sarah's world stopped. "That's impossible. Ethan and Lily always stayed with me on weekends. When I went to work, I left them with my mother." "That's just it, Mrs. Sarah. But you worked some Saturdays, didn't you? And your mother sometimes dozed off in the rocking chair." Sarah felt her blood run cold. It was true that some Saturdays she had to work, and her mother at 72 really had the habit of napping after lunch. "Are you saying my children came here alone?" "Not alone. Your husband brought them, but after he passed, they kept coming." "Alone?" Sarah could barely speak. "With your father-in-law, Mrs. Sarah. Mr. Arthur would pick them up from your mother's house. They'd spend the afternoon here, and he'd take them back before you got home from work." Sarah sat down heavily on a chair that Frank had brought outside. "Why didn't anyone tell me this?" "Because your father-in-law asked for secrecy. He said he wanted to finish the construction first, to then tell you everything and ask to make peace." But that means that... It means your children know every nook and cranny of this country estate, Mrs. Sarah, and more. They helped Grandpa build a good part of this house." At that moment, Ethan and Lily approached, sensing the adults were talking about something serious. "Mommy, why are you crying?" Lily asked worriedly. Sarah looked at her children with a mixture of relief, surprise, and a little irritation. "Kids, we need to talk. Sit here." Ethan and Lily settled beside their mother, sensing from her tone that the conversation would be important. "You visited Grandpa Arthur more times than you told me, didn't you?" The two lowered their heads, silently confirming. "Why did you hide this from me?" "Because Grandpa asked us to," Ethan answered quietly. "He said it was a surprise for you." "What kind of surprise?" Lily looked at her brother, as if asking for permission to speak. "Mommy, Grandpa said he built the house for us, but also for you to be proud of him. He wanted you to see he knew how to be a cool grandpa." "And why didn't he talk to me directly?" "Because he said you didn't like him." Ethan spoke with the typical honesty of children. He said he'd done wrong things in the past and wanted to show he'd changed before apologizing. Sarah hugged her children, feeling a complex mix of emotions. "And did you enjoy these visits?" "We loved it." Lily perked up. "Grandpa told the coolest stories in the world. And he taught Ethan how to do things with wood. And he taught me how to braid Lily's hair," Ethan added. "Just like he did for Auntie when she was little." "Auntie?" "Daddy's sister who died when she was little. Grandpa said Lily reminds him a lot of her." Sarah didn't know this information. James had never mentioned having a sister. Mrs. Gladys, who had been listening respectfully to the family conversation, stepped closer. "Mrs. Sarah, your father-in-law talked a lot about the daughter he lost. It was before James was born. That's why he was so closed off with affection. He was afraid of getting attached and losing again." "My God," Sarah murmured. "James never told me about that." Perhaps he didn't know. Frank joined the conversation. "Mr. Arthur only started talking about his daughter recently, when he grew closer to your children. I think they awakened in him memories he had locked away in his heart." "What was her name?" "Faith," Lily answered. "Just like the doll Grandpa made for me." Sarah felt the puzzle pieces clicking into place. The buried doll, the 2 houses planned, the extreme care with every detail aimed at children. Arthur was trying to heal an old wound through his love for his grandchildren. "Mommy," Ethan tugged her hand. "Grandpa said that when the house was finished, he was going to tell you everything and ask for us to be a real family. But then he got sick, and we didn't know how to tell you, because we promised Grandpa we'd keep it a secret," Lily finished. Sarah hugged her children tighter. "You didn't do anything wrong, my darlings. In fact, you gave Grandpa Arthur the best moments of his recent life." "It's true, Mrs. Sarah," Mrs. Gladys confirmed. "I never saw that man as happy as when he was with your children. He became a different person." "Tell me more about these visits. What were they like?" "Well, I saw from a distance because our house is up there on the hill." Mrs. Gladys pointed to a small house on the nearby hill. "Mr. Arthur would pick up the children. They'd have lunch out here under the tree. Then he'd take them up there to show them what he had built during the week." "And did they help with the construction?" "Oh yes, they helped. Your Ethan became quite the little carpenter, and Lily organized everything like a tiny little engineer." Sarah looked at her children with pride and a pang of sadness for having missed all those moments. "Kids, what did you most like doing with Grandpa?" "I liked when he told stories about Daddy when he was little," Lily answered, "and when he did magic tricks with little pieces of wood. And I liked when he taught me how to use the tools and explained how things were built," Ethan finished. "He said I could be an engineer when I grow up. Grandpa talked about you a lot too, Mrs. Sarah," Mrs. Gladys said gently. "He always asked how you were, if you were doing well at work, if you needed anything." "He asked about me?" "He did. And he said he really admired the strong woman his son had chosen. He said he wanted to help somehow, but didn't know how to get close." Sarah felt a tightening in her heart. All those misunderstandings, all that distance because of pure pride on both sides. "Mrs. Gladys, why didn't your husband want to do the staircase work?" The woman sighed. "Because I asked him not to get involved. I thought you'd be angry when you found out about the children's visits. I thought it would cause more trouble for the family. But now that we've talked, now I see I didn't understand the situation properly. If you'd like, I can talk to George about him helping with the project." "I'd really like that, Mrs. Gladys." That afternoon, Sarah climbed up into the treehouse again, but this time taking Ethan and Lily with her. Seeing her children moving so naturally in that space was moving and revealing. "Mommy, look!" Lily opened a small chest that Sarah hadn't even noticed. "Grandpa kept our drawings." Inside the chest were dozens of drawings made by the children, all carefully stored and organized by date, drawings of the family, of the dream house, of imaginary adventures. "And here are the tools I used to help Grandpa." Ethan showed a neatly organized case with small tools adapted to the size of his hands. Sarah realized there was much more to that project than she had imagined. It wasn't just a construction, it was a legacy of love, carefully built over months. "Kids, show me everything you used to do here with Grandpa." For the next 2 hours, Ethan and Lily were the tour guides of the treehouse. They showed every nook and cranny, every detail that had been thought out especially for them. They explained how the pulley system that Arthur had started installing worked, where the future suspension bridge would be, and what the slide would be like. "Mummy, Grandpa said that when everything was ready, he was going to invite you for a picnic up here to watch the sunset," Lily said while pointing to the west window. "He said from there you can see the whole coastal town, and that you would love the view," Ethan added. Marina looked through the window the children indicated, and indeed the view was breathtaking. You could see the downtown of the small coastal town where they lived, the sea in the distance, and the entire green expanse of the country estate. "It really is beautiful," Marina murmured. "Grandpa said when he finished everything he was going to throw a party for the whole family to see," Lily continued. "He said he wanted everyone to see how beautiful the house turned out, so they would stop fighting and become friends again." Marina's heart broke once more. Arthur had even planned the family reconciliation. When they came down from the house, Marina made an important decision. "Frank, I want to speed up the project. Let's hire more people and work on 2 fronts simultaneously." "Are you sure, Mrs. Marina? It will be more expensive." "I'm sure. I want everything ready before Ethan's birthday in November. Let's have the party Grandpa Arthur dreamed of." "And are we going to invite everyone in the family?" Lily asked hopefully. "Yes, we are, sweetie, including Uncle Thomas and Aunt Cynthia." "They won't want to come," Ethan said with the typical objectivity of children. "They don't like us. Maybe they'll change their minds when they see what we've managed to build." In the following weeks, the project gained accelerated pace. George, the carpenter, joined the team after talking with his wife, and his expertise was crucial for the more complex parts of the construction. "Mrs. Marina, I have to admit, your father-in-law was a genius," George said, while examining the plans for the suspension bridge. "These weight and resistance calculations are perfect." The local community began to take an interest in the project. Neighbors came to visit on weekends, bringing their own children to see the construction. Soon, the treehouse became the attraction of the region. "Mrs. Marina, wouldn't you like to open this for visitation when it's finished?" suggested Mr. Henry, a neighbor who lived on the adjoining property. "The children from the whole area are dreaming of playing here." "It's an interesting idea, Mr. Henry, but first I want my children to enjoy it thoroughly. They deserve it." However, not everything was smooth sailing. During the construction of the second treehouse, there was an accident. One of the safety ropes broke, and one of the workers fell, fortunately not seriously. But the scare was big. "Mrs. Marina, perhaps it's better to pause for a few days." Gilberto, the foreman, was clearly shaken. "I'll review all the safety measures before continuing." "Do whatever is necessary, Gilberto. Safety first." The accident generated talk in the town. Some people began to question if all that construction was really safe for children. "Marina, perhaps it's better to rethink this project." Her mother, Mrs. Evelyn, expressed her concerns during a visit. "What if something happens to Ethan and Lily?" "Mom, I've already spoken with 3 different engineers. They all confirmed the project is within safety standards." "Even so, dear, it's a very great height for children to play at." The external pressure began to affect Marina. What if something really did happen? What if she was putting her children at risk out of stubbornness? It was on one of those nights of doubt that she found another letter from Arthur, hidden in a secret drawer she only discovered by chance. "To whoever is concerned about the children's safety, I know that building a treehouse of this magnitude can raise concerns. I myself had these worries throughout the planning and construction. Therefore, every detail was designed with safety first. I consulted 2 engineers to confirm all calculations. I installed protective railings on all windows. I used only top-quality materials. I personally tested every plank, every rope, every system. But more important than all of this house was built with constant supervision in mind. I never planned for the children to play here alone. Always with an adult present, always with care and attention. The goal is not to create an unsupervised amusement park, but rather a special space where families can create happy memories together, with safety and love. Trust the design. Trust the love that was invested in every detail. Arthur Bennett, proud grandfather. The letter brought peace to Sarah's heart. Arthur had thought of everything, including the concerns that would arise. The next morning, she gathered the entire construction team. "Everyone, let's reinforce the safety even more. I want extra railings, redundant safety ropes, and clear signage about all the rules of use. "Mrs. Sarah, that will increase the cost a bit," Henry warned. "It doesn't matter. I'd rather spend more and be absolutely certain that everything is safe." The work continued with even more care and attention to detail. The second treehouse took shape, connected to the first by a suspension bridge that looked more like a work of art. It was during the construction of the third phase, the waterslide and aquatic area, that Sarah had the biggest surprise of the entire project. Frank arrived one morning with a strange expression on his face. "Mrs. Sarah, there's a situation here you need to see." "What is it, Frank?" "Well, we started excavating to make the natural pool, as in the plans, but we found something." "What kind of thing?" "It's better you see it personally." Sarah followed Frank to the site where the aquatic area was to be built. There was an excavation about 2 meters deep, and at the bottom the workers had discovered a structure of carefully arranged stones. "It looks very old, Mrs. Sarah." George was examining the stones. "It might be a natural spring that was already here." Sarah went down into the excavation to see better. The stones formed a kind of circular tank with a channel that led the water in a specific direction. "Frank, did Mr. Arthur know this was here?" "He must have known, Mrs. Sarah, look here." Frank showed one of the original blueprints. "See how he drew the pool. It follows exactly the shape of this stone structure." "You mean he planned to utilize a spring that already existed?" "It seems so. And more. There's a buried pipe that comes directly from this spring to near the tree. He must have planned a running water system." Sarah was impressed once again by the precision of Arthur's planning. Every detail of the project fit perfectly with the natural characteristics of the country estate. "Let's follow the original plans then. Let's restore this spring and create the water system he planned." The discovery of the ancient spring generated even more interest from the community. Mrs. Eleanor, the oldest retired teacher in the area, came to visit and brought precious information. "Sarah, dear, this spring is historic. My great-grandfather spoke of it. It was used by the drovers who passed through here over 100 years ago." "Really, Mrs. Eleanor?" "Really. And there's more. They say this water has therapeutic properties. Many people came from far away just to drink this water." "Therapeutic properties?" "Oh, I don't know if it's true or legend, but they say that whoever drank this water with faith and love in their heart would find a cure for old sorrows." Sarah smiled, thinking about the symbolism of the situation. Arthur had chosen that very spot to create a space for family reconciliation, and discovered it was the site of a historic spring for healing sorrows. "Mrs. Eleanor, would you like to attend the house's inauguration when it's ready?" "I would love to, dear, and I'm sure the whole community will want to join too. You're creating something very special here." The work on the old spring proved more complex than expected, but also more rewarding. When they finally got the water flowing again, it was a magical moment. "Mommy, look how beautiful." Lily clapped her hands when she saw the crystal-clear water bubbling from the restored spring. "Did Grandpa know this was down here?" asked Ethan, fascinated by the hydraulic system. "Yes, he did, son. Your grandfather knew every inch of this land." The spring water was truly special, crystal clear, cool, with a pure taste Sarah had never experienced. The system designed by Arthur created a circuit where the water flowed from the spring to a small waterfall, then to the natural pool and finally back to the stream that existed on the estate. "It's like a miracle of natural engineering," commented Henry. "Your father-in-law managed to integrate the construction with nature in a way I've never seen." As the project progressed, Sarah realized she was changing too. The hands-on work, the connection with nature, the discovery of abilities she didn't know she possessed, all of it was transforming her into a more confident and fulfilled person. "Mom, you're different," Ethan commented one night during dinner. "Different how?" "Happier and more strong." Lily agreed. "It's true, Mommy. You laugh more now." Sarah smiled, acknowledging that her children were right. For the first time since losing her husband, she felt truly alive and with purpose. "You know, kids, I think building Grandpa's house is building me too." "How so?" Lily asked, curious. "Well, I was so sad and lost after Daddy was gone. But this project gave me a reason to wake up excited every day. It made me discover I'm capable of much more than I imagined. Did Grandpa know that? Ethan asked. Sarah thought for a moment. You know, I think he did. I think he planned this project not just for you, but also to help me find my way. It was a possibility she hadn't considered before, but it made perfect sense. Arthur had watched his daughter-in-law struggling alone to raise the children after losing her husband. Perhaps this project was also his way of giving her a new purpose, a new identity beyond widow and single mother. The project's fourth phase, the observation platform, brought new challenges and surprises. They needed to build a structure even higher than the main house, utilizing a particularly robust branch of the golden oak. Mrs. Sarah, from this height, you can see the whole region, George commented, while working on the platform. It's a spectacular view. Grandpa wanted us to see the world from above, Lily said, watching the work from below. He always said that when you see things from a distance, they become clearer. It was an interesting philosophy, and Sarah began to understand that every element of the project had a deeper meaning. The treehouse wasn't just an elaborate playground. It was a metaphor about growing, about gaining perspective, about rising above everyday problems. It was during the installation of the platform's safety systems that something unexpected happened. Thomas appeared at the estate, alone, and with an expression very different from last time. Sarah, I need to talk to you. Hi, Thomas. Sarah was surprised by the visit. Did something happen? May I sit? Sarah pointed to a chair she always kept near the tree to supervise the work. Sarah, I want to apologize. Apologize? For what I said the last time I was here. About you not being able to complete the project. It was rude and unfair of me. Sarah remained silent, waiting for him to continue. The truth is, well, I'm impressed with what you've managed to do here. How so? The whole town is talking about the project. Everyone is talking about the treehouse, the historical fountain that was restored, the beautiful work taking shape. Sarah smiled slightly. And that changed your mind? It did, yes. But not just because of that. Thomas paused, seeming to search for the right words. I found some things of Dad's that helped me understand this whole story better. What kind of things? Letters, Sarah. Letters he wrote but never sent. To me, to James, to you, to the children. Sarah's heart raced. Did you bring these letters? I brought some. Thomas took an envelope from his pocket. These are for you. With trembling hands, Sarah opened the envelope. There were 3 letters. The first letter said, Sarah, I know we never got along and it's my fault. When James married you, I saw he had found a strong, intelligent and caring woman, exactly the type of person I always dreamed he would find. But instead of welcoming you as the daughter I gained, I let my reserved nature create a barrier between us. I was afraid to get close and then be rejected. The truth is, I always admired you very much, Sarah. The way you care for the children, how you work hard to give them the best, how you manage to be strong even when you must be suffering inside. You are the daughter-in-law any father-in-law would dream of having, and I was a fool for not knowing how to show it. With affection and admiration, Arthur. Sarah wiped the tears streaming down her face. He really wrote this. He did. And there's more. The second letter was even more touching. Sarah, if something happens to me before I have the courage to talk to you in person, I want you to know that I consider you the daughter I lost when I was young. Faith, my first daughter, died when she was only 2 years old. For decades I carried the pain of that loss and closed myself off to love, afraid to suffer again. But when I saw you caring for Ethan and Lily with such affection, I recognized in you the mother Faith would have been if she'd had the chance to grow up. This treehouse is my way of honoring Faith's memory, but also of celebrating the life you brought to our family through the children. Please accept this construction not as a burden, but as a symbol of the love I always felt for you, even when I didn't know how to show it. With all the love of a father, Arthur. Sarah had to stop reading for a few minutes. The emotion was so great, she could barely breathe properly. Thomas, I never knew about your sister. I didn't know either, Sarah. I found these letters last week when I was organizing Dad's papers. He never spoke about faith, but now I understand why he was so closed off. And the third letter. This one you need to read calmly. The third letter was the longest and most detailed. Sarah, if you are reading this letter, it means you decided to accept the challenge of completing our family project. I am moved just imagining you and the children working together to realize this dream. I want you to know that every detail of this construction was thought of not just for the children, but for you too. The observation platform was designed to be your personal refuge, a place where you can go to think, to find peace, to connect with nature. The suspended garden I planned for the final phase will be your space to cultivate plants, to create beauty, to have a hobby that brings tranquility to your heart. The reading area was designed to be a place where you can read your favorite books while the children play nearby, knowing they are safe and happy. Sarah, this house is not just for Ethan and Lily, it's for our entire family, including you as the matriarch you deserve to be. I hope that, when everything is ready, you feel that this country estate is truly your home, your haven, your place of peace in the world. If you manage to complete the project, know that you will have accomplished not only my dream, but also proven yourself capable of achieving anything you desire in life. With eternal love and total confidence in your ability, Arthur Bennett P.S. In the last phase of the project, you will find a special surprise I prepared exclusively for you. It is my way of saying thank you for taking such good care of my son and my grandchildren all these years. When Sarah finished reading, she was crying openly. Thomas seemed equally moved. Sarah, I was completely wrong about everything. Dad didn't leave this construction to you by chance or for lack of options. He left it because you were the person he trusted most to fulfill this dream. Thomas, let me finish. I want you to know that I really admire what you're doing here. And more, I want to help. Sarah looked at him, surprised. Help how? Any way you want. I can help financially, I can help with labor, I can help by promoting the project, you decide. And the sale of the property? Thomas smiled sheepishly. What sale? After seeing what you're creating here, selling would be foolish. This will be worth much more as a family legacy than as land for real estate speculation. And Cynthia agrees with this? Cynthia. Well, she's still getting used to the idea, but she will agree. That night, Sarah felt lighter than she had in years. The reconciliation with Thomas, Arthur's letters, the certainty that she was on the right path, everything contributed to a feeling of peace and purpose. Mommy, is Uncle Thomas going to help finish Grandpa's house? Asked Lily during dinner. Yes, he is, sweetie. And are we going to invite him to the opening party? Asked Ethan. Of course we are. And Aunt Cynthia? Sarah hesitated for a moment. We'll invite Aunt Cynthia too. The fifth and final phase of the project proved to be the most elaborate and meaningful. The suspended garden and the reading area were designed by Arthur with a level of detail that impressed even the most experienced professionals. Mrs. Sarah, your father-in-law was an artist, commented Rose, the landscaper Sarah hired to help with the garden. These botanical drawings are incredibly precise. The garden would be suspended halfway between the ground and the main house, creating an intermediate level for gathering. Arthur had planned special beds for medicinal plants, culinary herbs, and flowers that attract butterflies and hummingbirds. Mommy, will there be butterflies living in our tree house? Asked Lily, delighted with the idea. Yes, sweetie. Your grandfather planned a garden that will attract butterflies, little birds, and other pretty little creatures. The reading area was another highlight of the project. Arthur had designed a circular space with curved wooden shelves, comfortable cushions, and strategically positioned windows to take advantage of natural light. It's like a miniature library, commented Mrs. Evelyn, Sarah's mother, during one of her visits. I've never seen anything so charming. But it was during the installation of the shelves that Sarah found the final surprise mentioned by Arthur in the last letter. Behind the main shelf, there was a secret compartment. Inside it, Sarah found a small wooden chest, beautifully carved with the name Sarah on the lid. With a racing heart, She opened the chest in the presence of Ethan, Lily, Thomas, and Frank, who had become her constant companions in the project. Inside the chest were several items that made her cry with emotion. 1. A final deed to the entire country estate, legally transferring everything to her name. 2. A card from a local jeweler with a white gold ring engraved with, "For Sarah, the daughter of my heart, Arthur Bennett." 3. A leather-bound journal with a dedication, so that Sarah may write her own happy memories in this new home. 4. A collection of rare seeds with detailed instructions on how to plant each one in the hanging garden. 5. One last letter, the most important of all. My dear daughter of my heart, Sarah, if you have come this far, it means you have managed to complete our project. It means you are even stronger and more determined than I imagined, and I already thought you were extraordinary. This house is officially yours. The entire estate is yours. You deserve to have a place in the world that is truly your own, where you can raise your children in peace, where you can build new happy memories. The ring is to replace the wedding band you still wear, not because you should forget James, never forget the love you shared, but because it is time to begin a new chapter in your life, a chapter where you are not just James's widow or Ethan and Lily's mother, a chapter where you are Sarah Bennett, the strong woman who achieved her own dreams. My greatest wish is for this house to become the center of happy family gatherings. May Ethan and Lily grow up here playing, learning, dreaming. May you find peace, joy, and who knows, a new love when your heart is ready. May the next generations of the Bennett family grow up knowing they were deeply loved, and that love can overcome any misunderstanding, any barrier, any difference. Thank you for accepting this challenge. Thank you for honoring my memory. Thank you for being the daughter-in-law I always dreamed of having. Be happy, Sarah. You deserve all the happiness in the world. With eternal love from a proud father, Arthur Bennett, P.S. On the day of the inauguration, look closely at the sunset from the observation deck. I prepared one final surprise that will only work at that specific moment. Sarah needed to sit down, so overwhelming was the emotion. Arthur's generosity, the love invested in every detail, the concern for her future and happiness, it all left her speechless. "Mommy, what did Grandpa write?" asked Ethan, seeing his mother's tears. Sarah read the letter aloud for everyone present. When she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the group. "My God," murmured Thomas, "I never really knew my father, did I?" "He was a man with a huge heart," said Frank. "He just didn't know how to show it." "Mommy, is the house really ours now?" asked Lily. "It's ours, sweetie. Completely ours. And are we going to live here?" Sarah looked around the estate that had become her home over the last few months, at the majestic treehouse that was almost complete, at the historic fountain that once again flowed with crystal-clear water, at the hanging garden that was beginning to come to life. "You know we are, Lily. I think we're going to live here." The decision to move permanently to the country estate was not difficult. Sarah had fallen in love with the place, with the possibilities it offered, with the peace she found there. "But what about your job in the city?" asked her mother, Mrs. Evelyn, when Sarah told her about the decision. "I've already spoken with my bosses, Mum. I can work remotely 3 days a week, and the other 2 days I can go into the office. It's only a half-hour trip." "And the children? School?" "The school in the neighboring town is excellent, and here they will have contact with nature, space to play, a healthier life." "Are you sure, dear?" Sarah smiled, holding the wedding band Arthur had left for her. "I'm sure, Mom. For the first time in a long time, I'm absolutely certain I'm in the right place." The treehouse opening was scheduled for a Saturday in November, close to Ethan's birthday. Sarah sent invitations to the whole family, neighbors, friends, and all the people who had contributed to the project in some way. To her surprise, even Cynthia confirmed her attendance, though with some reluctance. "Sarah, I have to admit I was wrong about this project," she said during a pre-opening visit. "What you've managed to create here it's magical. Thank you, Cynthia. And I want to apologize for how I treated you. It was unfair of me. Already forgotten. Can I ask you something? How did you do it? How did you find the strength to carry out such a big project alone?" Sarah thought about the question for a moment. I think it was love, Cynthia. The love Arthur invested in the plans. The love I feel for my children. The love James would have felt for this project. When you do things out of love, you find strength you didn't even know you had. On opening day, more than 50 people attended. The entire community was there, eager to see the famous treehouse that had stirred up the region in recent months. Sarah had prepared everything carefully. Picnic tables spread across the country estate, local food, live music with a local guitarist, and a schedule of guided tours, so everyone could see every detail of the construction. Everyone, before we begin the tours, I'd like to say a few words. Sarah positioned herself under the tree, where everyone could hear her. This project wasn't just mine. It was a dream of my father-in-law Arthur, a legacy from my husband James, a gift for my children Ethan and Lily, and an achievement of our entire community that supported us during these months. The audience applauded, moved. I want to especially thank everyone who worked on the construction, the neighbors who encouraged us, the friends who believed in the project. You turned a dream into reality. And now, I'd like my children to be the first to go up into the finished house. Ethan and Lily, dressed in party clothes but with expressions of adventurers, climbed the main ladder, now renovated and safe, followed by Sarah. Up there, the house was perfect. The two houses connected by the rope bridge, the flowering and aromatic hanging garden, the cozy reading area, the observation deck with panoramic views, and all the safety and comfort details. "It's even more beautiful than I imagined," whispered Lily, exploring every nook. "Grandpa did an amazing job," added Ethan, proudly testing the tools he had used to help with the construction. As the sun began to set, Sarah remembered Arthur's last note about a special surprise for that moment. She took the children to the observation deck and waited. When the first golden rays of the sunset hit the deck, something magical happened. Small crystal prisms strategically installed by Arthur around the deck began to reflect the sunlight, creating miniature rainbows all over the structure. "Wow, Mom!" Lily clapped, enchanted by the light show. "How did Grandpa do that?" asked Ethan, fascinated by the effect. Sarah smiled, imagining Arthur calculating exactly the sun's position, the angle of the crystals, the perfect moment to create that magic. "Your grandfather was a very special man, kids, and he wanted you to know that every time you saw the sunset from this deck." Down below, the guests could see the light show and applauded with emotion. The moment was perfect, magical, unforgettable. When they went down to join the guests, Sarah was surrounded by congratulations and praise. "Sarah, you've created something unique here," said Mrs. Eleanor, the retired teacher. "This house will be remembered for generations." "Thank you, Mrs. Eleanor, but the credit goes to Arthur." "The credit belongs to both of you together, my dear. He dreamed. You made it happen." During the party, Sarah watched Ethan and Lily playing with other children in the treehouse, supervised by the adults, safe and happy. She watched Thomas talking animatedly with the neighbors about future plans for the country estate. She watched her mother, Mrs. Evelyn, smiling with pride as she showed photos of the project to her friends. Everything was perfect. The family was united, the community was celebrating together, the children had their dream park, and she had found her calling and her home. But the biggest surprise of the night was yet to come. Around 8 in the evening, when most of the guests had already left and only the closest family remained, Frank approached Sarah with a mysterious expression. "Mrs. Sarah, there's one more thing your Arthur left for you." "One more thing?" "Yes. He asked me to deliver it only after the inauguration, when everything was perfect." Frank took from his pocket a sealed envelope with Sarah's name written in Arthur's unmistakable handwriting. Sarah opened the envelope curiously and found a small golden key along with a note. "Sarah, congratulations on managing to complete our dream. If you're reading this, it's because everything worked out, and our family is gathered celebrating." The key accompanying this note opens a safe buried at the base of the tree on the north side. Inside you will find the last gift I prepared, not for the children, but specifically for you. Use it with wisdom and happiness. With eternal love, Arthur P.S. Now that you've managed to realize my dreams, I hope you feel encouraged to realize your own dreams as well. You deserve all the good things life has to offer. Sarah, accompanied by Ethan, Lily, Thomas, and Frank, went to the north side of the tree with a flashlight. After a few minutes of searching, they found a small iron lid buried among the roots. Using the golden key, Sarah opened the buried safe. Inside, there was a wooden box with delicate carvings. Upon opening the box, she found 1. An amount of money that left her speechless, $50,000 in organized bills. 2. A letter explaining that this money was for her to use in her personal projects, to study, travel, invest in some dream of her own. 3. A deed to a small plot of land in the coastal town, ideal for someone wanting to open their own business. 4. One last personal letter. Sarah, during all these months watching you work on this project, I realized you have a natural talent for turning dreams into reality. You took my sketches and plans and created something even more beautiful than I had imagined. Therefore, I want you to use these resources to realize your own dreams. Perhaps open that craft shop you mentioned to James years ago. Perhaps go back to school and take that landscape architecture course you always wanted. Perhaps simply travel with the children and see the world. What's important is that you know you deserve to invest in yourself, in your dreams, in your happiness. You taught me that it's never too late to start over, to fix past mistakes, to build a better future. Now I want you to apply that lesson to your own life. Be happy, Sarah. It's an order from this proud father-in-law. With infinite love, Arthur Bennett. When Sarah finished reading, everyone was crying with emotion. Arthur's generosity and love seemed to have no limits. "Oh my God," murmured Thomas. "Dad really thought of everything." "He thought more about your happiness than you did yourself, Sarah," commented Frank. "Mom, what are you going to do with all this?" asked Ethan. Sarah looked at her children, at the treehouse lit by the lights they had installed, at the old fountain bubbling with crystal-clear water, at this entire country estate that was now truly hers. "You know, kids, I think I know exactly what to do." "What, Mum?" "I'm going to turn part of this property into a space for family events. A place where other families can come for picnics, celebrate birthdays, reconnect with nature. And I'll use the lot in town to open a landscape design studio." "Really?" Lily clapped her hands. "Are we going to have more parties here?" "Many parties, sweetie, but special parties, for families who want to create beautiful memories together." Thomas smiled. "Sarah, that's a brilliant idea, and you can count on my full support." "And mine too," said a voice behind them. Everyone turned and saw Cynthia approaching, with tears in her eyes. "Sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't leave without talking to you, Sarah." "What is it, Cynthia?" "I was completely wrong about everything. About you, about the project, about Dad Arthur's intentions. Seeing all this finished, I understand he wasn't a crazy old man building fantasies. He was a visionary creating a legacy." "Cynthia." "Let me finish, please. I want to truly make peace with you, and I want you to know that if you need help with your new projects, you can count on me too." Sarah hugged her sister-in-law, feeling that finally the Bennett family was truly united. "Thank you, Cynthia. That means a lot to me. And it means a lot to me to have a sister-in-law like you." That night, after everyone had left, Sarah went up alone to the treehouse and sat in the reading nook that Arthur had designed especially for her. The children were sleeping in the main house of the estate, exhausted but happy after the perfect day. Sarah picked up the journal Arthur had left for her and began to write. "Dear Journal, today we officially inaugurated the treehouse, but in truth, we inaugurated much more than that. We inaugurated a new phase for our family, a new version of myself, and a new way to honor the memory of the people we love. I learned that true love doesn't die with someone's physical departure. Love lives on through the legacies we leave, the lives we touch, the dreams we inspire in others. James lives on in Ethan's smile and in Lily's creativity. Arthur lives on in every plank of this house, in every detail thought of with care, in every moment of joy it will provide for future generations. And me? I discovered I am much stronger than I imagined. I discovered I can turn pain into purpose, tears into construction, mourning into legacy. Tomorrow, a new journey begins. I will turn this property into a space where other families can create happy memories. I will open my studio in town and help other people transform their spaces into places of peace and beauty. I will raise my children with love, solid values, and the certainty that they were deeply wanted. But today, in this perfect moment, I just give thanks. I give thanks for having been lucky enough to know James, for being blessed with Ethan and Lily, for having been adopted by Arthur, for having found my home in this magical place. Life really is a tree. Sometimes we lose important branches, but if we have strong roots, we keep growing, flourishing, offering shade and beauty to those who come near. This treehouse is my way of growing upward, toward the light, taking with me all the loves I've collected along the way. With infinite gratitude, Sarah Bennett P.S. Arthur, wherever you are, know that we made it. We made your dreams come true, brought the family together, and created something that will last forever. Thank you for believing in me before I even believed in myself. Sarah closed the diary and looked out the window of the reading area. The full moon illuminated the entire country estate, creating a scene of peace and serenity. The fountain bubbled softly in the distance, the plants in the hanging garden swayed gently in the night breeze, and everything seemed to be exactly as it should be. For the first time since her husband's death, Sarah felt complete. Not because she had forgotten the pain of loss, but because she had transformed that pain into something constructive, meaningful, lasting. End of story. This was a fictional story created to touch our hearts. Now tell us what you thought. Do you believe Sarah made the right decision by accepting the challenge? Tell us in the comments which part of the story moved you the most. Leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other stories that will touch your heart.